back to another episode of the Street Smart Ventures podcast. I'm your host, Michael Scanlon, as always. I am here with royalty. I am so excited with Miss Christa Steiner. She is a creative professional, performer, educator, advocate for mental health recovery, Miss Constitution State. So, Christa, thank you so much for joining us. It's a pleasure.
Oh my gosh, Michael, thank you so much for having me. This conversation has been a long time in the making, so I'm happy that we're here and we've made it. It's June. Here we are. This is really exciting. Thank you so much.
Oh, of course, my pleasure. And for our viewers and listeners, just so you know, I met Christa back in January at Join Rise B's Young Adult Leadership Summit. And so I got to hear part of your incredible story, your journey and transformation, and just all the amazing work you're doing. And clearly, we're going to have an action packed hour, however long it takes. It's a true joy to be here in this virtual space with you. I think we're going to talk about Christa's personal story, mental health and resilience, leadership, identity, connection, recovery, so many incredible things. So, this podcast series and my work with Street Smart Ventures really is all about moving people forward, moving communities forward, moving agencies forward, helping people to find or renew their sense of passion and purpose and to lead great lives. And so this is such an aligned conversation, Christa. Again, thank you so much.
Thank you. Yes, I know we have a lot to talk about, a lot to get to. It's going to be great.
So diving right in, Christa, I love to first, right off the bat, ask you, when did you first realize your struggles could become one of your greatest leadership assets?
So, for anybody who doesn't know, about 3 years ago, I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, and that was a diagnosis that forever changed my life. I really had to look at myself and learn a lot about this diagnosis and really make a shift in my lifestyle, how I treated myself, how I cared for myself, all of these things. But I really remember when I was in treatment and they would have folks come and visit us and just tell us about their stories and what they were going through, people who had been in our position and then gotten to recover. And I just remember having a meeting with several folks who were coming in to talk to us. And they were just telling us about how this was really important, how recovery is something that you need to stick to, how it's not easy by any means, but that they are living representations of what is possible. And I just felt so affected by it. It's one thing to have a counselor or a therapist tell you, this is what you need to do to get better. But it's another thing to have a person with lived experience who's gone through the process tell you and have aligned conversations about, no, I get what you're going through. This is really hard. So I thought, wow, I would love to get better, and I would love to be able to give back in that way, to give back to people and share my story, because I know the power of impact that can have.
That's incredible. And I think, I know we briefly met in January, Christa, but I think, I myself have been in inpatient treatment, outpatient treatment. And so myself as a peer specialist, as someone who's a mental health coordinator, we are doing aligned work in each of our own different pathways. And something I brought up in presentations, and then we'll talk more about your different presentations and the work you're doing, is something that kind of came up, like, when you have, maybe it's just a me thing, Christa, when you're night before your presentations and you're speaking, do you ever have like those 2 a.m., like I can't sleep, like I'm kind of like jittery, excited, nervous, and you have like these last minute thoughts? Is that just a me thing, or does that happen to you too?
No, absolutely. It happens to me as well. And oh my gosh, also my cat is deciding to put himself in a bag. He's adorable. So I'm hearing this rustling. So absolutely, I am like a notes person. I go over all of my notes and I write them down and I go over it again and again and again. I am somebody who really likes to be as prepared as possible, but even so, I take that preparation and I take all of my thoughts. And then most of the time when I get to speaking and I get to my presentations, I'll have a thought in the moment and I'll just, go with it or say something that's a little off script. But I like having that framework and that structure. That's what really helps me. And something that also helps me get through that anxiety, because I do, get what you're saying there. I just remember that telling the truth of your story is never going to be wrong. And when you are telling the truth, and being authentic and open about what you've experienced, someone is going to resonate with that. So yes, telling the truth at all times is incredibly important, especially in this area of work and advocacy.
Incredible. Could not have said it any better, because I think something that stuck with me in one of my like 2 a.m. night before prep was the diagnosis is not the destiny. And I had put like my medical files of like, I had a huge stack of just words and
Mhm.
experiences of powerlessness and a system that sometimes really didn't believe in me. So I think in just preparing for a conversation today, was just touched on what you shared. And I think, yeah, what you said stays with me, that, when you're telling the truth, that's never wrong. That's an incredible, and it's, your mission's bigger than your mood. That's kind of something I've been
Mm.
thinking about.
Yeah.
So, which leads me to my next thought for you, Krista, is you really, oftentimes we think that strength is found in vulnerability. Why do you think society often mistakes vulnerability for weakness?
I think that for so long, people have been conditioned to act like everything's okay. And especially in the world and the systems that we're existing in, you go through school, and then if you choose to go to university, you go to university, and it's all about being successful and achieving, financial success, career success. A lot of people get on the track of, well, I'm supposed to get married, buy a house, have kids. And especially in this market and in what we're seeing in the world at large, it's getting increasingly harder to achieve that dream or that stereotype of what you're supposed to have.
Hmm.
And something that really sticks with me that I always try to look through this lens is that when I was growing up, they would always ask me in school, what do you want to be when you grow up? And people would write careers and occupations or like being a mom or something like that. And I always wrote down, I want to be happy. And when I think that you redefine your definition of what you think success is, that's what can propel you to actually feel successful. And I have found such success for myself in that happiness. And my happiness is born of being authentic and vulnerable. Because what I found that brings me the greatest joy is giving back to other people, of being able to share my story. I was at that keynote speech, and after I spoke, one of the young women who was partaking in the summit, she came up to me and she just held my hands and she was like, "Thank you so much for sharing your story, because I have seen you now, I believe that I can get better." Right? And if that conversation, if that moment can shift the narrative and help another person get better, then my sharing my story is absolutely worth it. And it's hard at first, it really is, to get over that shameful feeling. But what I've found more often than not, even today, I got a text from a friend about telling me what she's been going through, experiences she's had. Um, you find that you're more alike than different, and more people than not have experienced a challenge like this. So it's really heartwarming and amazing to see that because I'm being authentic and vulnerable, other people feel permission to do the same.
Hmm. And that's true leadership, Krista. That's incredible. And I think, that's talk about success, right? You mentioned it, redefining success, and that's such an important thing to think about. I think for our communities, for anyone listening, it's we can define our own success, and in that moment, you were such a positive presence. I mean, to the whole event, to the whole room, but clearly in that moment. And that's, I think we are a society that is devoid of a lot of those powerful moments of just presence. Like, no agenda. I'm just going to be here, either one on one in a room with you. And so clearly, sounds like you've had so many of those incredible moments of just powerful presence.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm amazed at the people who come up to me who are strangers who want to tell me their story, but even more so, the people in my life who are my friends, my colleagues, people who I've known for a while, who will then come to me and say, well, I know that you're a mental health advocate. I know that this is what you talk about. So can I tell you about this thing? And I think people may feel that because we're friends or we've had a relationship in the past that I would judge them, but that's far from the truth. And I feel like it fosters more community and interconnectedness by being able to share our struggles, because it just helps us to be able to grow. And with that community support, that's what makes you be able to recover.
Mm. Um, yeah, I'm pausing for a second because no, I'm thinking about so many things I want to ask you and follow.
Yeah.
But clearly, a brave and honest conversation can change a life, and it sounds like you are constantly changing lives and being that presence. I'm just curious, Christa, is there a conversation you remember that changed your life?
A conversation that changed my life. I remember there's so many, and I'm trying to pick the best one, but it had to have been when I was in treatment. And I was doing the thing when I was early in my recovery that I was like, I'm not sick, right? I don't need this. I'm fine, right? I'm pushing it down. And I had this roommate when I was in treatment, and I was very surprised to see somebody very similar to me. She loved Pink and fashion and Taylor Swift and like being a girly girl going out to concerts and music festivals. And she shared a lot of the same struggles that I did with mental health and with sobriety. And just being able to talk with her and have somebody so openly and honestly tell me their story, but also to see somebody who was so alike to me, that was really, really impactful. And so that's why I want to be very present in this space. I think a lot of folks don't anticipate a beauty queen or like a pageant title holder
Mhm.
to have the struggles that I have and to have lived and experienced the things that I've experienced. And so by shifting that narrative, by not necessarily breaking that mold, but expanding the mold, it allows for more people who are like me, who are similar, to say, well, if she is Miss Constitution State and this is something that she's lived, then maybe I can be someone who deals with a mental health condition, deals with sobriety struggles, but I can also be, fabulous. I can also be strong and independent and a community leader. You can be all of these things. Having one does not prohibit having the other. And so I really just wanted to show with my year and this title that with hard work, because it takes hard work and dedication to oneself and a belief in oneself, you truly can accomplish anything that you set your mind to.
Yeah, no, and clearly you are living it, you're walking the walk, and it's making me think too. Again, something I appreciate about your social media presence and marketing is just again your level of storytelling and just again and giving back, and again tying back into what we talked about a few minutes ago, just your authentic presence and being of service and having those moments and opening those doors for those conversations and again flipping the script because you're right. I think before we hit the record button I shared for a second because we haven't talked since January and just
Yeah.
meeting really quickly, and I had said to you, like wow, like honestly when I met you and you were walking by, you're floating on air, you're glamorous, you're in a dress and the crown, and then we'll talk more about the crown, don't you worry.
Yes, we
um,
will.
but I think it was so powerful because you're right. I think you are flipping the script, so to speak, on what people may come to expect or what is popular or what is normal out there and what people may be used to seeing. And I think that this is how change happens, by having those honest conversations like, hey, hold up, like yellow light, red light, this is what's going on with me. And
Yeah.
I just have to be honest and brave and just saying like, this is what I'm going through, this is what I went through. And I love that you shared that just because you have had certain experiences doesn't preclude you from living a full life. And that was something I struggled with as well, as being a brain injury survivor and having my own mental health diagnoses, depression, anxiety, is I felt like I was again just defined by my diagnosis, and my identity and sense of purpose shifted from who was in the room with me and who believed in me that day or who didn't. And so it was such a key point in my own recovery to reclaim my power and just say like, no, I can have these things going on, and I can choose what I want to for my identity. But I also am, a son, a brother, a partner,
Yes.
an artist, someone who loves all these things. And I think in our society, it's interesting how the minute mental health or addiction or recovery comes into play, sometimes people really think, oh, that must be all you are.
People, sometimes I feel that folks want to subconsciously, without realizing, reduce someone down to a label because it makes them feel more comfortable to assign that to someone.
Mhm.
It makes it easier to understand if someone is a particular label. If you are, you know, an addict, if you have a disorder, a chronic health condition, or let's say I could be reduced to something as simple as being blonde, right? There's a stereotype about that. And when you can take up multiple spaces and multiple communities, that's what really shifts folks' perspective. You can be multifaceted. I am someone in the mental health community, somebody in the LGBTQ community. I'm a singer and I'm a teacher and a friend and a partner, right? I'm all these things. And I really wanted to make sure that no matter who you were this year to me, that you could connect with Miss Constitution State on something. You could find your way into this story and this brand of Miss Constitution State, and you could say, well, I see myself in her with this thing. And then maybe that gives you permission to become a part of the community of Miss Constitution State, Miss Connecticut, Miss America at large. And you can be welcomed into this amazing community and this amazing space of change makers, and specifically women change makers. One of the things that's most amazing to me about the Miss America organization is we are the largest provider of scholarships to young women in the country. And we are also one of the nonprofit civic engagement organizations that has the widest volunteer base. I mean, the amount of hours that women in this organization are volunteering is astounding. And it just goes to show the amount that service is impactful and how much service informs all of us. And that's what I really wanted to make sure when I sat down, when I received this title and I said, how do I want to make the biggest impact? Service is the thing that really drove me. It's the thing that drove me even to come back and compete and be in this space again, because I said, how can I make the biggest impact in the mental health space? How can I get this story told? And that was my first thought was, oh, well, it's obviously the Miss America organization and having this opportunity. And one of the things that's been really important to me is to use social media in an impactful and intentional way. So being able to plan out how I'm going to have appearances, how I'm going to have, conversations on podcasts, or I've been fortunate to have spots on television, right, on NBC or Fox, and being able to have as wide a reach as possible. And I find so often that when I'm sharing on social media and sharing the places, the service, the ways I'm giving back, I have so many people reaching out saying, thank you so much, reaching out in my Instagram DMs, asking for resources, asking how they can get involved, and just saying thank you for me to be able to break the mold, shift that narrative that it's not a bad thing to talk about recovery. And it actually is very impactful to take up the space of someone in recovery and also a pageant title holder. And they, in fact, can coexist.
Mm-hmm. And I think that kind of leads me to my next thought, Christa, is I think, I'd love to dive in and ask you, because when I think of you and your brand and your story, it really is all about leadership and talking about, again, my thoughts on like your marketing and your social media, service driven storytelling. You are being of service to individuals, communities, our state, nationally, like the world, like you're unstoppable, right? So like I will not be surprised if I like am on Instagram in a week or two, like I'm in Japan, I'm in Italy, like, I'm going like everywhere. So trust and believe, I am rooting for you, and I know so many of us are rooting for you. But I think, I would love to dive in and ask you, you know, um, how would leadership change for our communities and our state and even nationally if more people stop trying to appear flawless? We've talked so much kind of about that already, and I think you clearly are someone who, again, we're flipping the script and you're shattering molds and illusions kind of wherever you go with your authenticity and your storytelling. And so I'm just curious, any other thoughts you have on that?
I think that something that I've learned in recovery is that everybody has the opportunity to be a leader. Some of the best leaders that I've met are actually in sobriety recovery, when you engage in those community sobriety spaces. And those folks, they go unnamed. They're not asking for acclaim. They're not asking for you to celebrate them. They are just reaching out their hand to the next person who needs help. And that's where I've truly learned how to be a leader, from those people who are doing it not because someone's going to tell you that you're doing a good job by leading, but that you are just doing that, reaching out your hand because someone needs help. And you can be a leader on a small scale, you can be a leader on a large scale, and any of those things is incredibly important. And I have such a beautiful opportunity as Miss Constitution State and in this competition for Miss Connecticut to have a wide reach and to be authentic and engage with as many people as possible. But the sentiment and the intention remains the same. If you just texted me out of the blue and said, Christa, I'm struggling and I need help, I have given rides to people to, if they need to go to the hospital or they need to go to a support group. I have, made sure that people had clothes or had food, right? And the action does not define the impact, right? It could be a small thing, it could be a large thing. And that's what's really driven me to go to every appearance, go to every event that I possibly could. I never know who's going to need to hear my story. And it could be the person I least expected to need to hear it. And it could very well be, too, somebody who has maybe different political or social ideas of how our world should function. And that honestly doesn't matter to me, because I just want to make sure that that person has the opportunity to get better. That is what's important to me. And when we are transparent, when we are authentic, and we are not afraid, we're not shying away from that, then that's what's going to lead to community. I was told really early on in my recovery that community was the opposite of, being sick, and that these diseases, these conditions that we are living with, they want to keep us isolated, they want to keep us alone, and we're telling ourselves these lies and things in our head. And when you get out into the community and people are authentic and transparent, you realize that you're not alone. And you realize that so many other people have gone through what you're going through, and maybe they have really good advice that's going to help you get through it, or maybe they're just listening, and that's what you need. But that transparency leads to community, and I believe personally that that community is the most important thing when it comes to recovery.
Mm, so true, because it really is that shift from isolation to support to community. And I'm hearing, as you were speaking, Christa, I think too, it really is those intentional everyday things. Because you're right, I think the what people may see of you on your social media and in your campaign, they are seeing some highlights, but you just, it was like perfect examples. Like there's so much that goes unseen. It is those phone calls you get, those texts, those emails, you giving someone a ride or connection to resources and support. And it really is. And I think I've been in a lot of meetings where, sometimes we're definitely not in a perfect world, but I think sometimes people can get so stuck in talking about talking where I have to almost be like, we can all do something, and even if that's just being a positive presence or even the acknowledgement of, I don't know what to say or do right now in this moment, but I'm at least here with you and at least starting a conversation or holding space in that way. And it's clear that you're doing that.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. prior to getting into recovery, I thought that I had to be doing the most in order to make an impact. I was like, I have to give speeches and I have to, be on TV and I have to do all these things. And those things do have the opportunity to have impact. And I've been fortunate to do that this year as Miss Constitution State. But to your point, there is so much that goes on behind the scenes. And in order to be a good leader on a large scale, I had to learn to be a leader on a small scale. And the number one thing that helps me be a leader is not being the loudest voice in the room, but listening to everybody else and being able to hear what is the thing that I need to hear today and how can I take that thing and how can I move it forward. I've learned so much from the people who have poured into my recovery. And it's just that unconditional being there, that unconditional, I will always listen to you. I will always show up for you no matter what. And when you can learn to do that one-on-one with just people in your daily life, then that's what you can carry into larger lessons for sure.
We actually just had a community conversation on resilience, and our speaker, Deborah Katie, who's amazing, she was sharing elements that really transform lives and key qualities of relationships. And as you were talking, it really is about unconditional love. And that may make some people uncomfortable, but I feel like if you're listening and you want to call it either unconditional support, unconditional self-regard, or unconditional kindness, but I think there really is, that's what you're embodying, is just this, you're being in a way all things to all people in a way that feels okay to you and authentic to you in that moment. It's that there's humans need each other, and there is such joy and power in the 2 ears 1 mouth thing. Like you're just listening and speaking, and it's almost like, how do you balance stepping up when when you're in a space, oh, now's the time to say something, or stepping back and be like, now's the time to listen? Because I feel like that's a really key leadership quality that maybe some people don't always know how to navigate.
Definitely. And there have been times in my life, I think it goes hand in hand with accepting who you are, accepting the things about you that are true, that you may love, and some things that you may be uncomfortable with. But the things that I've really learned in recovery is that I don't have to be right all the time. I don't have to be perfect all the time. And even though I may be struggling, even though I may be going through something that I feel as though I can't handle, or I feel as though I can't tackle, if I can't do it, then someone else can help me. And that may be you leaning into your community and asking for resources and asking for support. That may be, if you're a faith-based person, leaning into a higher power of some kind. That's an incredibly important tool and that I've implemented for myself that I appreciate. But just learning that you don't have to have all the answers. The only thing that you have to do is show up and ask for help. Asking for help is the bravest thing a person can do. And I didn't know how to do it for a really long time. I was like, no, I'm fine. But I struggle so much less when I do ask for help and realize that there is bravery in that. And there have been times even this year as Miss Constitution State when I have struggled. Just because I have a crown and I have my hair and makeup done, it doesn't mean that I don't still have a mental health condition. Like, I will forever have a mental health condition, and it doesn't go away just because I've decided to be in a public space. I've just learned how to deal with it, learned how to cope with it. I've had to practice a lot of acceptance about who I am and what I've gone through and what I will always continue to go through. But something that really drives me is, even on my worst days, I am given so many opportunities and resources and skills. And I may be dealing with depression and I may have to get up and go to something that I've booked. But what keeps me going in those moments is, yes, it's very hard for me to do that sometimes. And I'm not going to pretend that it's easy. But I also understand that there is somebody at that appearance, there's somebody at that speaking engagement, there's somebody at that visit that needs to hear this. And if they hear that, no, today I'm actually struggling, but I still got up and I did this and I have the potential and you do too, that is so important to me, to be able to foster that connection and to give that advice and like teach that lesson, you know?
Mhm. It really is modeling for others. And I think, again, just being, again, that positive presence. And I can relate because before, I speak or I present, I can still feel a lot of different things. And I
Yeah.
think it's refreshing to hear from you too that, like, yeah, like I may deal with this, or maybe I'm not having an A+ day, but like we do it and you do it. And I think that it kind of goes back to what we all can do to empower others. And I think, tying really into the belonging, I'd love to dive in, Christa, more on what does belonging mean to you and how can we keep creating more of it?
I found a sense of belonging when I told the truth about who I was. And there's a really great quote from Dolly Parton that reads, "Find out." I
I
love
love Dolly. I was like,
her.
wait,
Dolly
okay.
Parton.
Yeah.
Find out who you are and do it on purpose. You cannot be anybody other than yourself. And by pretending that I was okay and trying to project this image onto the world, I isolated myself. I kept myself from finding a community that really supported me. And by telling the truth about who I was, that's what really gave me that sense of belonging. So again, I belong to so many communities, the mental health community, the LGBTQ community. I'm also, as I said, a performer. I'm a theater person. So the musician community, I'm very much a part of that as well. You can belong to any communities and you just find that camaraderie of we are all experiencing similar things. We all can discuss these things that we are going through. And the knowledge that I do not have to go through this alone, that there are other people who are going through it. And I hope that when folks engage with me in public appearances, spaces, whatever, I hope that it's not that, oh, you think I'm just going through this and I'm the person, because I'm a representative of the hundreds of people that have poured into me and the community members that have supported me and gotten me to the place that I'm at. And I hope that conversing with me and engaging with me when I go out to an appearance, that helps open the door for you to find that community and find that sense of belonging, because those communities will outlive all of us.
hmm Great timing because you're making me think of what a colleague has said to me is, with our advocacy work, sometimes it can be that we are standing on the shoulders of those who came before us. And I hear that loud and clear. And now it's making me think of, that we are not alone. And I kind of want to ask you, like, who in your life supports you? Because clearly you're doing so much and, does support change day to day from you? I think getting in the nitty gritty of, things we all can do for each other, because I certainly have my own support network, family, friends, my pets. We'll talk more about our cats, but, standing on the shoulders of those who came before us and just those in our circle, who's there for you in your life, Christa?
I
That you
have
are grateful for.
incredible people. I have my blood family, and then I have found chosen family. So obviously my parents are huge supporters of me. They actually help work with me on my competition prep, like my interview and my talent. And they were really there for me when I was at the lowest of the low. And they got me the opportunities to have the healthcare that was so necessary for me, and really gave me the time and the space to recover as I needed to, not forcing me to
Mm-hmm.
get back out there too soon. They really made sure that I was stable, which was amazing. I have I have my partner and like friends that help me and support me every single day. And it's not just like in this competition, it's just being like, hey, let's go out to coffee, or hey, let's go see a movie. That's really amazing. A really great support system that I have is I've worked with several organizations throughout this year. One of my close partnerships that have become friends of mine is with Prism. Prism is an LGBTQ mental health counseling service. They're based out of Killingworth, and it's run by Rebecca Degnan, who is also a musician. She's an accompanist, so she's accompanied. I'm a music teacher, so she's accompanied my recitals for my students. So it's been amazing. And several other organizations. The Hartford Gay Men's Chorus is amazing. I have the CJK Foundation, MJK Foundation, right? So many people who I've gotten to work with who just want to invest in my story and they have the same goal, to be able to tell this story to as many people as possible. Because when somebody stands up in a very public forum and says, this is something that I've gone through, it really has the opportunity to shift that narrative and help other people feel comfortable in doing so. So I just feel so grateful for the professional organizations and the professional relationships that have developed into partnerships and friendships. And it's been so amazing to see the outpouring of love and this huge community that I've built from all angles. I mean, even somebody, which is so amazing, even somebody who I was in treatment with 3 years ago is actually coming to the competition. My friend is driving up from Philadelphia. They're coming to support me. Just absolutely amazing. So to think of where we were 3 years ago and then to see where we are today, it's monumental and just so tangible to see the difference that life can bring you when you just believe in yourself and you work hard because you believe you deserve it.
It really is that ripple effect. I think now I'm like, I could take this a million ways again.
Yeah.
But the internal shifts rippling of, oh, your thoughts, your decisions, your actions, what you're learning. And of course, not every day is going to be a continuous, like, yeah, great day, great day. There may be days, as we all have. But also I'm hearing loud and clear that, your community work and your advocacy and just you being your amazing self, you're having this ripple effect that's rippling out further and further. And I also want to touch on, because I know when we met back in January, like, I got to learn about you and just, it's not one of the questions I had sent you in advance, but like, I'm here with you now. And I think it's mind blowing how, because I've joked with you like at January, I'm like, oh, I can't sing. Please don't let me sing. Like, you're a very big singer, a beautiful voice. But I'm kind of struck, Christa, is do you realize the different ways you're using your voice and you're empowering others to elevate their own voices? Because you're clearly an amazing singer. I want to touch on your music and your passions, your education. But it's like you're not only using your voice, you're given talents that you've obviously worked hard for and with, but you can clearly sing musically, theatrically, but you're using your voice for that rich storytelling, for transformation, which is something very meaningful to me. And so I just am acknowledging with you here, right now, just the different ways you're enriching the world and using your voice. Have you like thought about that before?
I have, and I think that music is one of the most connecting things that I have the ability to do. Something that I really, really appreciate that I get to do is I get to sing the national anthem a lot of places, which is one of the best ways that specifically I can honor our servicemen and women who have given up so much for this country. And I get to just engage with people when I get to sing the national anthem. It's service members, it's kids, it's families who I'm not there particularly for mental health advocacy, but they may hear me sing the national anthem at like a Hartford Wolfpack game. And then they go on my social media, they find out who I am, and maybe their kid has anxiety. And maybe they get to connect with those resources, right? That's something that I so appreciate the opportunity to do. You may think offhand, oh, singing the national anthem may not get people mental health resources, but it actually is one of the driving ways that I get to connect with people, and something that really, really just fulfills me so much is being a teacher. I have performed in several roles throughout my life in several shows, but truly my favorite role is teacher. And I had my recital this past weekend with my students, and it is just so amazing to see how they've grown, and not only grown as musicians, but grown as people. And the thing that I find most with my students is through our lessons and through our work together, they gain a confidence. They gain a belief in themselves. They gain the opportunity to take control of a performance and then have that sense of control and agency in other parts of their life. And these are the life lessons that I am so privileged, and I have the responsibility to impart among my students. And it's just so gratifying to be able to see them get it and to see them be so excited and take control of their own destiny, their own future. It's just, I mean, it's the biggest privilege in my life. Absolutely.
Wow. That's incredible. You're fostering autonomy and just, again, the confidence. I'm not doing it for you. I'm here right along with you. Again, right back to our leadership conversation pieces. And, I think we are in a world and society that, again, we talked about labels. We talked about feeling powerless at times or words spoken over us. And I think it's just incredible that what can happen when we have support and opportunity together, that there's that harmony. That's where magic happens.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I just, before we get into some more fun stuff, Christa, I'd
Sure.
love to ask you, if a young person's listening right now, if a parent's listening right now, if maybe a teacher, a professional, anyone, and if they feel trapped by their life or their circumstances or maybe their diagnosis, what do you want them to know, Christa?
You absolutely have the power to change where you are at all times. No one has the power to keep you where you are but you. There are so many times throughout the course of my life when I didn't like where I was and I changed it. I didn't like where I was living. I moved. I didn't like the career or the, job path that I was down. I tried something different. There's nothing wrong with shifting where you are, gaining a new perspective, trying something new. And it may work out for you and it may not, but just say yes, just try, throw everything you have at the universe and see what sticks, so to speak. But I remember when I got into recovery, when I got my diagnosis, like the day of, I was like, oh my gosh, this weight was lifted off my shoulders and I finally knew what I was going to do. And I actually took it upon myself. I was calling treatment centers. I was asking them, how can I get admitted? How can I get taken in? Do you take my insurance? When can I come? And having that sense of autonomy and being able to consent to my own treatment made me realize that I have the power to say yes, and I have the power to shape my own destiny. So for anybody who feels that maybe you're in an institution like a school or a job that you don't feel is serving you, you can pivot. You can try something new. And you don't have to please other people in order to succeed in life, because again, success is driven by happiness and feeling good about the choices you make within yourself.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, Christa. I think following up, if someone were to be listening and maybe feel scared, okay, Christa, I hear you, but I'm still so scared to maybe take that first step. What are your thoughts?
I get it. It's really hard. And I did not get into this path day one with gumption about my diagnosis, right? And it does take time. It does take small steps. So fostering that conversation, people can reach out to me if they want to just share their story, if they want resources. There's always, people can engage with 988, which is a great way that people can text or call a real person. There are instances I've been seeing in the news. I listen, to the radio, or I see online that kids are feeling shame, so they're reaching out to AI for mental health help. And while that may feel like an accessible resource, when you're dealing with something like mental health, it's really imperative to talk to a real person. So 988 is great. You can text them 24/7, and they will also provide you with resources. But I think just taking that first step of acknowledging and starting to accept, okay, maybe this is something I'm dealing with, and understanding and realizing that there are paths that are there to help you. There are things right here in Connecticut that are there to help you. It can be something as simple as in-person therapy. It can be support groups. There's an organization who I'm sure you know as well, Advocacy Unlimited. They have incredible, free of charge support groups that people can just go to their center in Rocky Hill and see and just engage with people and talk about it in a shame-free environment. I also recently, literally yesterday, I was at the Institute of Living, which is in Hartford, and talking about all of the inpatient and outpatient options that they offer folks who need support. That's right here in Hartford, and they have multiple ways that people could get involved at varying degrees of income. So there are so many resources that we can absolutely be giving when you're ready to have them.
And thank you so much for bringing that up, because I think sometimes people may think, oh, there must be only one pathway to wellness, to feeling better. And I'm sure you just shone a light right on that there is so much out there. And it really is just taking that first step. And, you know, if a support or resource isn't the best fit for you, that's okay. There's more out there. It's not a one size fits all when it comes to recovery and moving forward in life. So thank you so much for that, Christa.
Yeah, and something I want to point out before we shift off of this topic is that all of the resources that I've provided, which people can see on my website or get to from my social media, all of those resources are low cost and no cost, because I really believe personally that recovery should not come prohibited with a cost. You know, as I've mentioned previously, reaching out is the bravest thing you can do. And so as soon as somebody reaches out, I want there to be resources. So if someone is listening and they need something and they don't know where to find it, I encourage you, go to my website, go to my social media, and you can find anything, whether it's free of cost or sliding scale, or maybe you have Medicaid, right? These options are available and you will find something that will treat you. There is not a barrier to be seen there.
That's incredible, because you're right. You're bringing up socioeconomic factors. You're bringing up so many threads that have held us back as a society, where we all deserve to feel better, to get support, to get help. So thank you so much for being a voice and elevating those resources that bring equity and sustainability and just hope to everyone. So thank you so much, Christa.
Thank you. Yeah.
And okay, so this is the fun part where before I do the close out, okay, I want to talk about for a second Dolly Parton. When you said that, I'm putting it out there, Christa, manifesting that you're going to connect with Dolly in some way. Like, how cool would that be? I could totally see you both together. And I'm just thinking, like, I want to be there in that room, by the way. I can be a little greedy and say, I want to be there in that room with you and Dolly.
I have heard that Dolly Parton is probably one of the nicest people on the planet. I also really admire her heart for service. She gives back to her community in Pigeon Forge in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. So I really want to take a page from her book and have, you know, that service-driven mindset. Plus, she is glamorous and fabulous. She is always in a rhinestone and big hair. I love to see it. Yeah, I mean, she's just amazing. And I've actually been to Dollywood. I went down to Pigeon Forge and I went to Dollywood, and it's just so much fun and so beautiful. She's somebody who is like ensconced in music and glamour. And that's something I absolutely like. I want to grow up and be Dolly Parton. Absolutely.
Yeah. So do I. No, truly.
Yeah.
No, but I think, but talking about leadership again, you know, I think I had to myth bust my own definition of leadership and just who do I admire, because I think, you know, Dolly's an incredible leader, incredible person, because she is service oriented. And I think that's how we're aligned, Christa, is it's being of service to others. And she's like a prime example. And you know, what I think of with Dolly too, she's always smiling, always laughing. And if she has something on her mind and heart, like, she shares it openly. Like, yeah, like, she still has her privacy, but I think she's also a celebrity that really shines a light on key issues and uses her position and everything she has in a meaningful way. And that's clearly what you're doing too, Christa. And I think, you know, oh man, there's actually one movie, I don't know if you've seen it. I think it's called Straight Talk, from the early 90s with Dolly, where she's a radio host, becomes a radio host. So that's like such a cool, like, cute little film. Maybe you can check it out with your partner, family, friends. Straight Talk. Yeah, Dolly Parton.
Okay.
Yeah, but I think, you know, I'm so excited. I want to ask you, Christa, and for our audience and listeners, How does the crown feel? Can you show it to us?
I
Because like,
can.
where do you keep it? I want to hear all like the behind the scenes stuff on the crown.
So let me show you. So this is my crown box. And for anybody, people have complimented me on this and been like, it's so cute. This was like $20 at Ulta. So I found this. It's like a makeup case. It's a caboodle. So we open it up. It is a low-key a mess, but we have a mirror. Da, 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 da. And I've got Sharpies. I've got cough drops. I've got my business card in here, lipstick, emergency lipstick. And then I've got my crown. So in here, we have the sash, which is a little bit dirty. It's got some like spray tan and makeup on it, but here we go. We've got the sash. So there she is. And then the crown lives right underneath. So here she is. Dun, dun, dun.
Oh, that is beautiful. Wow.
I know. And so she just pops right on right there. She's got some little, it's actually a little bit, I use it all the time because I'm going out. So it's a little like, I need to clean up the elastic, but it's got some elastic. And then I clip it on. I have these little barrette clips in a plastic bag that it lives in here. So that is my crown. There she is, Miss Constitution State.
Yeah.
She's fabulous. And then I've got some other things. I've got like a hairbrush. I've actually got 3 hairbrushes and a protein bar, right? I've got tons of things because you never know what's going on when you got the crown.
Oh,
you know?
I almost want to do like a side note. Okay, like what are your favorite hair products? We talked about a lot of your like, yeah, because that's something I'm like remiss in not bringing up. Like hair. Like what's because you've got incredible hair and all your styling work you do. So happy to chat for a minute on that.
Yeah. So I love my hair and I just want to shout out my hairstylist. Her name is Melissa Sharkovich. She is at Main & Co., which is in Glastonbury. She actually owns her own salon and I adore Melissa. She's amazing. So she does incredible work on my hair. I would not be here without her. But that being said, I love Goldilocks hair serum, really great. I love like the Kenra blow drying spray. I love the Color Wow like anti-humidity spray. And I also love the Color Wow volume mousse because when you are doing pageants, big hair is the way to go. So I love some volume. I love some like, woo! Yeah. And my favorite thing that I ever do, and I've said this before and I'll say it again, is I pin curl my hair when I'm curling it. So I have my curling iron. It's like a 1 inch. I have a 1.5 inch if I really want a lot, but I'll curl it. And then I have these little, like, they're like out, like duckbill clips. And I'll just roll my hair and then I will clip it with a clip. And then I let it sit this morning for like an hour while I was doing my makeup. And then I take it down and it's all big and puffy. So that is my ultimate hair secret, is pin curl your hair for sure.
Wow. No, yeah, it looks incredible. So listen, you got some plugs, some sponsorships going maybe down the road, right? Because I know anyone who sees this will be like, I want what you have, Christa. So they're probably going to go to Amazon or elsewhere, go see your style.
Yeah.
So, who is your style inspiration? Do you have a few celebrities who like you'd be like, oh man, I want to meet you and I want to like, I wish I could like shop your closet?
So it's really interesting that you say that because my ultimate style icon till the day I die is Bob Mackie. I'm going to say that, and several people don't know who that is, but Bob Mackie is an incredible designer. He's designed for Cher. He's designed for Diana Ross. Most recently, Miley Cyrus and Sabrina Carpenter have been seen wearing his designs. He also did a fabulous showgirl show in Vegas a while back called Jubilee. And Bob Mackie was all about bringing out a woman's inner confidence and displaying it in the clothes that she was wearing. So, I mean, we're talking like rhinestones, feathers, beading, everything that you could possibly sequins, right? Everything just glamorous, over the top. So if anyone comes to the Miss Connecticut competition, every single thing that I am wearing in that competition, I ask myself, would Bob Mackie approve? Like, would Bob
Oh,
Mackie like this? And I really hope that Bob Mackie somehow sees it. And I'm just like, Bob Mackie, I'm so inspired by you. I love you. And actually, this is nerdy of me, but I collect Bob Mackie Barbies. So I have two because he designs for Barbie as well. So I have this one. She is
oh, she's beautiful. Look at that.
Angel, Christmas Angel. And then I got a new one recently where she is like glamour central. So I am obsessed with Bob Mackie.
I could see you rocking both those outfits, by the way. Just
Thank you!
and manifesting. So not only Dolly Parton there, but Bob Mackie there.
Bob Mackie, yes.
Third person we got to mention when we met back in January, the TV show Smash. Want to tell me more about that?
Oh my gosh.
I think it came out in my joke that I said earlier. We're like, oh, I love that you can sing because I'm a horrific singer. Please don't ever make me sing, even like a karaoke joking way. And I think I mentioned, oh yeah, and I love this TV show Smash. And then we both instantly connected even further on that.
Yes. So Smash, I believe it came out in like 2012, 2013, somewhere around there, like the mid 2010s. And it was like the most chaotic show, but also amazing.
Mm-hmm.
It was just so good. It was like all about going to Broadway and like the process of Broadway, and none of it was accurate, but all of it was fabulous. I remember this moment. I was watching it with my parents at home, and there was this scene where the girl, I think it was Karen. It was I'm sure it was either Karen or Ivy. But she was on stage playing Marilyn Monroe, and then she took out her wig, and all her hair perfectly fell down. And I'm like, no pin curls, no wig cap, no microphone. Like, her hair is just perfectly under there. Like, this is definitely a fantasy. But I do sing a lot of Smash in my spare time, like a Let Me Be Your Star, but also Rewrite This Story, like the songs from Hit List, which were in Smash. So I am a big fan. So I have to ask you, are you team Karen or are you team Ivy?
I was going to ask you that. Okay. That's a great question. I was not ready for that. I love that you are asking me this. I think that my non-answer is like I'm team both because I want them both to succeed. Okay. But I feel like in some ways I resonate more with Karen because like I think part of just like just the small town, grew up in a small town. So I think there's elements of Karen's story where I think she was coming in, feeling the fish out of water at times, being in this whole new world where she's learning more about herself. So I think that part really stayed with me and resonates with me. But I also can really see Ivy, where maybe Ivy is dealing with, her mother, played by
Bernadette Peters.
Yeah. She's dealing with, okay, yes, she's known, but she's in the shadow of her mother and been entrenched, and she's fighting and trying to stay, always having to feel this insecurity of, am I going to be picked? Am I still going to be the star tomorrow? So I think in a human way, I relate to both of almost, these are like really common life situations we can deal with. But I'd say I guess I am team Karen if you had to like pick. What about you?
I mean, I have to go with my fellow blonde sister. I have to go team Ivy. First of all, I love Megan Hilty. I am obsessed with her. I actually got to perform in a concert with her when I was in college. She was doing a Christmas concert with the New York Pops at Carnegie Hall, and I was able to perform with her, which is so cool. But I've been in the theater industry for a lot of my life. My parents are actors and producers. My mom's a stage manager. So growing up in theater, I understand Ivy like to the core. I get it. I just think she's incredible. And I understand that feeling too of like working so hard and then being passed over for the thing and somebody else getting it. I really understand that. So I am a team Ivy gal for sure.
Well, that's incredible. Listen, this is real life. We're friends, we're colleagues now, Christa. So we're showing that we can be on different teams and still connect and respect each other's point of view.
Absolutely.
No, I was blown away. I'm like, you know what Smash is, because
I do.
I was briefly with someone who got me into that show, and I remember the soundtrack, and I love "Don't Forget Me." That's a powerful song. "Don't
Yes.
Forget Me" and all that. So, but you're right. It is a chaotic show, and some of the plot lines, it's the roller coaster. But truly, I think what a creative idea for a show. Like, it's a show about a show being put on and developed. So that
And
was
you want to
just
know
super
what's
cool.
interesting? It was produced by Steven Spielberg, which is crazy.
I don't think I knew that.
Yes, it is. Every time I watch Smash, which I watch it more than I should, yeah, I see it because produced by Steven Spielberg. I'm like, are you kidding me? It's so good. I mean, there's some moments too, like Christian Borle's in it, and he has like a relationship with Leslie Odom Jr. And they do like a let's make tomorrow tonight, which is like, I think it's a Sammy Davis Jr. song. Like, it's so good and random. It's just the most random thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I think what always gives me joy is Angelica Houston throwing water. Is it Jerry, her ex-husband? She's like, all right,
Yes.
screw you, Jerry. And then, like, I have my, like, closed water bottle, like, always, like, smashes the drink in his face wherever they are. That always never fails to amaze
Yes.
me.
Angelica Houston doing anything, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yep. She's another one to add to that invite list. So we got
Absolutely.
Dolly, Bob Mackie, Angelica Houston.
That's a party I want to go to.
Yeah, that's a party. So, listen, we've been talking for an hour, Christa. I so appreciate your time. You're changing the world. You're a change maker. You're doing so many things. You have my vote. You have so much of our community's vote and support. It's been a true joy, but I cannot close out our conversation without asking about our cats, because we also bond in preparing about our cats. So tell me, like, we are the fellow, like, cat parents, and yeah, so tell our listeners.
Oh my gosh. So I have two boys. They are Milo and Kai. Malachi is his government name. But they're two brothers. We rescued them. They just turned 2. We got them last year. And they were just amazing. They came from a really cool rescue in New York, Rock and Rescue. And they are Bengal tabby mixes. And the lights of my life, they're insane. They get the zoomies like every other hour. They're just like, but I love being a cat mom. Absolutely. And actually, let me show you this. This is hilarious. Let me see if we'll do it. They love a whipped cream. So if I shake it, are you guys gonna come? Are you I have the whipped cream. Come here. Are you coming? I'm over here. Come here. Yes, here they are. So I'll pick them up. I'll show you, because they're like, Mommy, the whipped cream. I'll give them some whipped cream, but here they are.
Oh, so beautiful coats. And
I know. They're like, ah! I love you boys so much. They're so mad they're not getting the whipped cream.
How old are they?
They are 2.
Oh, that's a fun age. I have 3 cats. There's Tux, the oldest, who's 11. I then have in the office with me, which I'm actually surprised they've not like made a peep yet, because like, trust and believe, every recording, like, there's something going on. So they're actually, again, in the presence of royalty with you. They're behaving, Christa. So I have Dex, an all black cat, who is they will be 4 in August, as well as Lex, who I call Smudge. Dex and Lex were rescues. They were found at 3 days old. I got them from Paws CT in Norwalk. We'd actually just lost Tux's bio brother a few years ago, Rex. So there's all like the X names: Tux, Lex, Dex, Lex. And they're just incredible. They're so kind. And yeah, I just love them so much. Proud cat dad over here.
Yes.
But the whipped cream, I got to tell you though, Tux, my oldest, loves whipped cream. He knows if he smells like chocolate or hot cocoa. I'll have to send you my recipe for hot cocoa, by the way. I make an amazing hot cocoa. When he smells either the chocolate or that whipped cream, he comes running. So I was blown away. Your cats also are whipped cream admirers.
They are, and they were probably asleep because they look very sleepy, so they woke up for the whipped cream.
Yeah. Hey, I wake up for that too.
Yes.
Christa, I could keep talking to you for hours and hours. I want to respect your time. Again, we've covered so much of just your story, the amazing work you're doing, your powerful presence, your advocacy, your community building efforts, your journey, um, and just through life, and just you're a powerful change maker. Again, I'm blessed to have spent another hour with you here in this virtual space. I hope we can reconnect further. I have so
Yes.
many ideas and ways to collaborate. So clearly, you'll be hearing from me a lot, but
Perfect.
trust and believe this will be out in time for what you've got, your exciting things upcoming later this month. I'm so
Yes.
excited. I'll be rooting for you so much, Christa. So, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for all you do. It's been incredible. And until next time, everyone, bye for now.
Bye.